Hi, I'm Lisa with OESD. I am so glad you're here. We're going to go through 5 collections. Now that the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting a little bit cooler, 5 collections to help us usher in the fall. And you're going to want to stay tuned because we have an amazing bundle at the very end. You'll notice that I have my pumpkin spice latte. And I know that can be a controversial statement because not everybody drinks pumpkin spice lattes. So in the comments below, please tell me what you like to drink for your autumnal beverage. We're going to start off by going through our fall mug wraps, which I happen to have one right here. The fall mug wraps are really fun because it utilizes our OESD Favorite Felt. And they're super easy to make. I believe there's 4 or 5 designs in the collection. They're super fun. It's about a 10-minute stitch out. I use Applique Fuse and Fix. While you can use the trim and place method for your applique, I found that because it's not a satin stitch around the edge or the cover stitch of the applique, that using Applique Fuse and Fix gives me kind of a cleaner look. Because it has a little bit of a glue, when you go to print out your patterns, you want to do it one at a time so that you're not gumming up the works. The heat of the printer can mess with the glue, so print out your template patterns one at a time with your Applique Fuse and Fix. The other thing is that you can play with these designs and do different things. So I have this one done and this one done, and then I thought I'm going to use King Star metallic thread, and I made this one. And a new to me tool that I used were the scallop shears by Dime by OESD. So cute. So those are the fall mug wraps. So now I want to talk about the autumn buildable lace doilies and napkin corners. This is such a cool concept and such a cool design. Within that collection are different motifs. So for example, here is a motif, the center is a motif, here's a motif, so that you can stitch them out in whatever way you want to and build them using a zigzag stitch. That means that you can build it as big or as small, as round or rectangle as you want to. When you go to sew them together, it's just a zigzag stitch. And for me, a tip in making them go together well is that I put a piece of wash away tape underneath where I know I'm going to zigzag them. And we'll get a little close up and try and see if you can find the zigzag stitch on where I put these together. The other part of that collection, which is super, super cool, are the napkins that go with it. Such a fun fall tablescape. These napkins are so easy, and the star of this one would be your AquaMesh Plus. It's really nice. The design puts a placement stitch, and then you lay down your napkin corner that you're going to stitch out. In this case, I would put this one right there like that. Then it's going to do another place or a stitch line and a cut line. That way you know what part of the napkin to cut off. You've cut this off, and the very next thing is that it's going to go ahead with the thread and just stitch it all out. It is so much fun, so easy, and makes you look like you're really talented, so that when people come over for dinner and you say, I made these, people who don't sew think that you are a genius. At least that's how my family treats me, because they don't do this. So super fun. That is our autumn buildable doilies and napkin corners. So now we have our fall treats by Pen and Paint, and I started with an apron. I could make an apron, but sometimes you need a gift or something really fast, and I love the OESD Start Here apron blanks because it means that I can whip something up much faster than if I was starting completely from scratch. On this apron, I want to highlight a few things. First of all, let's talk about placement, because placement sometimes can be a really difficult thing. And I have 2 tools that really help me in my arsenal. One tool that I have is something called Template Sheets. And using Toolshed software by Dime, I can import any design into there and print it out on a template sheet using OESD template paper. And that way I can make sure that I have the design completely where I want it. And these template sheets are really great. This is the one that I actually used. And this is sticky. So if I were doing, say, 2 aprons for 2 grandkids that I imagine I might one day get to have, then I can use this one template for as many aprons as I want to. What's really nice, again, is that it's sticky and repositionable. It is not a sewable product, so you wouldn't sew through it. You're just using it for placement. The other tool that I have for really helping me with placement is something that we have called our Grippy Grid, which I have one right over here. And I love the Grippy Grid. This is one of those items that I say they would have to pry from my cold, dead hands. I love it so much. This is it right here out of the package. And you'll notice that the vertical and horizontal lines are in bold. It also happens to have a 45-degree angle, but what I love about those bold lines is that when I go to hoop, I know exactly where the center of my hoop is, which means I know exactly where the center of my design is. And because it's a silicone mat, when I go to hoop my stabilizer, my hoop isn't shooting around the table, getting away from me. It stays put, and that way I have complete control. I love the Grippy Grid. It's probably my top 3 notions of all time. Everybody should have at least 1 or 2, and the reason why I say that is because some of us, I don't know who, but some of us have accidentally cut ours because it looks a little bit like a cutting mat. It is not a cutting mat. It is a Grippy Grid placement mat for your hoop. I love this so much. I also want to show that I used a new to me product called Temp Tack, and that is by Dime by OESD. And that Temp Tack helped keep the ribbon in place when I was adding the little extra detail onto the apron. It was a very fun stitch out. I want to also show that I used King Star Metallic in the measuring cup that has oil in it because I wanted to kind of give a little bit of that shimmer like vegetable oil really would have in real life. That was Fall Treats by Pen and Paint. Next up we have Stitch Mix Autumn and the pashmina. I'm just going to put these away. So the pashmina that I'm wearing, I love this. This is Stitch Mix Autumn. There's only 4 threads in this entire design, so it uses a variegated thread to really highlight the designs in this collection. So what I did when I hooped this is that I cut 2 big pieces of AquaMesh Plus, bigger than the hoop that I was going to use. And using my table, I laid out 1 piece of AquaMesh Plus and I peeled back off the paper so that the sticky was exposed. I laid down my pashmina very carefully not to get these little fringe bits caught up in it. And then I laid a piece of AquaMesh Plus on top of it so that it was sandwiched together. Then I went ahead and I stitched it out. I was a little worried about the density of this design, so I did float a piece of Ultra Clean and Tear Light, or just Ultra Clean and Tear, right underneath the hoop, just in case I was wrong about the density and it was going to pucker more than I thought. So when it was all done stitching out, I didn't want to just pull off the AquaMesh Plus, because on your fine fabrics like this, what could happen is you would get the threads pulling up and you would have damage to the scarf that you just worked so hard to stitch out. So you're going to take the whole pashmina or the whole scarf, you're going to toss it into a garment bag, put it into the wash it on a delicate cycle with cold running water, and it's going to completely take away that AquaMesh Plus. And over time, the Ultra Clean and Tear will just wash away completely. This has only been washed 1 time, and as you can see, it looks really nice, and over time, this little bit will just slowly dissolve in the wash, and you're still going to have a great looking scarf at the end of it. So that is our Stitch Mix Autumn. Next up, we're going to have a tote bag with trapunto. I made a tote using the oak leaf trapunto. Isn't this fun? I also have all the things that you need for the bundle, so stay tuned. But I want to highlight these 4 blocks. I have 4 here and 4 here, and you can see that there's a little bit of a trapunto feel. And what's really fun is you can make this your own depending on the fabric and the thread. You can either match the fabric or you could choose a shade or two lighter. In this case, I did choose a shade about 2 shades lighter than the thread to really kind of highlight the trapunto. And what was really fun about this is one of the team members here at OESD saw it from afar and actually thought that this was leather. It's not leather, it's just brown fabric with a cream thread, and it really pops that design. So the key for this design and to be successful is I made a couple of mistakes to show. Precision is the key. The digitizers came up with a really great way using fusion fleece to really make trapunto pop. But when you're doing it, you want to make sure that you are going to precisely tape all 4 corners. Here, I only put the fabric on top of where it's going to be stitching out, a piece of tape at the top, TearAway, and a piece of tape at the bottom. And what happened is, as the machine was going around and stitching it, when it got to this final corner right there, you can see that there's a little pucker. And that little pucker is because I didn't tape all 4 corners. If I did that, it would have been much, much nicer, and I wouldn't have had that little pinchy, puckery bit on the corner. The other thing that's really important, because this is going to go together almost like a tiling seam, you're going to sew within a seam allowance. It's probably easier again if I hold this up. I made 4 blocks and I wanted to sew them together, so it's almost like a tiling seam. In order for that to work, there's a placement line, and you can't just put the fabric willy-nilly on that placement line. You have to really make sure you're centering it, because if you get askew, you'll notice right here at the bottom, I don't have much fabric in that seam allowance. So when I go to sew my blocks together, it will not go together well at all, and I won't have that precision that will make it easier to put all 4 blocks together. And you know, especially if you've been sewing for a long time, if you're 1/8 of an inch off here, then you are 1/4 of an inch off there, you're 1/2 an inch off. The next thing you know, further on down, you're a whole inch off. So you want to make sure that you have centered your fabric exactly where it tells you to on that placement line. And that's really the key. It is so fun to watch this go together, and everybody in the office had to feel it, because you know it's like fabric therapy. It just was really fun to feel the trapunto. Whew, that's a lot. Those are 5 collections that I've just mentioned. I want to know which one is your favorite. I would have to say that all 5 of them are my favorite, because I've made all these projects and it was really, really fun. But which one is your favorite? All right, so I mentioned a bundle, and I'm going to pull up my tote bag here for the bundle. In the bundle, you're going to get the 5 collections that I have mentioned. You're also going to get, are you ready for this? I'm just going to start throwing them everywhere because I can't even believe how much you're going to get. You're going to get all 4 of these favorite felt colors. That'll get you started for sure. You're going to get a set of 4 napkins because you want to start playing with napkin corners. You're going to get the template sheets, TearAway tape. We cannot forget about our TearAway tape. Ultra clean and tear, you need that. Fusion fleece, super important for that trapunto. See, I'm just tossing them on the floor. You're going to get AquaMesh Plus. We need to have that. And then, of course, you're also going to get medium weight TearAway. Oh, okay, wait, but that's not all. I'm just throwing things everywhere. Look at that. You're also going to get a pack of ballpoint needles. All those collections, all that stabilizer, do you know that that is worth over $200? Actually, worth over $220 because I did the math. You get all of that for only $99 while supplies last. So don't hesitate. Please be sure to get yours. You don't want to be without. That is more than a 50% savings. I can't even do that math because it's so exciting. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see what you make, and I would love for you to go on to The Perfect Stitch by OESD and show us what fall creations you're making this year, and make sure that you like and subscribe our YouTube channel for more content just like this. Thank you for watching, and happy stitching.